multiplying radicals with more than one term. For the warm-up, we're going to distribute and simplify. So we are going to multiply 2 times 10 and then minus 2 times square root of 12. So 2 times 10 minus 2 times the square root of 12. 2 times 10 is 20 minus 2 times the square root of 12. Now let's simplify the square root of 12. Square root of 12 can be written as a product of 6 times 2, and then 6 can be written as a product of 3 times 2. Now, our process shows that if we get a pair of 2's, they're going to come out. So our answer would be 2, and the square root of 3 will stay, well, the 3 will stay under the radical sign. So this final answer would be 20 minus 2 times 2 times the square root of 3, which is 20 minus 4 times the square root of 3. Lesson frame. Our essential question: how can we multiply radical expressions with more than one term? Objective: we will understand and apply the concept of multiplying radical expressions with more than one term. Closing task: I will complete an exit ticket on multiplying radical expressions with more than one term. To use the distributive property, we will multiply each term from one expression by each term in another expression. We will start by multiplying 2 times 6 minus 2. So we'll multiply 2 times 6 minus 2 times 2. That gives me 12 minus 4, which is equal to 8. For the second expression, we will multiply the square root of 2 times the square root of 6. Subtract that from the square root of 2 times the square root of 12. The square root of 2 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 12, minus the square root of 2 times the square root of 12 is the square root of 24. Remember, when you have the same index, like square root, cube root, you just multiply what is underneath the radical. From the warm-up, we know that the square root of 12 we can simplify by multiplying, finding the factors, 6 times 2, and then 6 is 3 times 2. We have a pair of 2's, so they come out of the radical sign, and the square root of 3 remains underneath. Similarly, with the square root of 24, that would be 6 times 4. Factors of 6 are 3 times 2, and for 4 it's 2 times 2. We can take out a pair of 2's, but we do not have a pair for any of the other factors. So that will be 2 times the square root of 3 times 2 is 6. So final answer, 2 times the square root of 3 minus 2 times the square root of 6. And then for our third example, we have the square root of 2 times the square root of 6 minus 3 times the square root of 2. So we'll multiply the square root of 2 by each of the terms inside. So the square root of 2 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 12 minus, I have the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, that is equal to 2, and then times 3. So square root of 12, I can simplify. We already have it from the previous example. So that is going to be 3 times, sorry, it's going to be 2 times the square root of 3 minus 6. 2 times 3 is 6. Multiplying radical expressions with more than one term. First, we're going to use the distributive property. So we will use the distributive property, or what we call FOIL method. FOIL stands for first, outside, inside, and then last. We will then simplify each product. So after the distributive property, we'll simplify each product by using the properties of radicals. We will combine like terms if possible. And then finally, we'll express the result in simplest radical form. Ensure that the final answer is in simplest radical form by simplifying any radicals that can be simplified. Example 1, multiply and simplify 5 square root of 2 plus 2 square root of 3 times 4 square root of 2 minus 3 square root of 3. So we are going to use the FOIL method. First, we'll multiply the first terms, then we'll multiply the outside terms, then we will multiply the inside terms, and then we'll multiply the last terms. So the first terms, five square root of 2 times the 4 times the square root of 2. Then the outside terms, 5 square root of 2 times 3 times the square root of 3. The inside terms, 2 square root of 3 times 4 square root of 2. And then the last terms, 2 square root of 3 times 3 square root of 3. So I'm going to write all of that out. Now I'm going to multiply each expression. I have 5 times 4, which gives me 20. Square root of 2 times the square root of 2. Well, the square root of 2 squared, the square root and the square cancel each other out. So that's equal to 2. Next, we have 5 times 3 is 15. Square root of 2 times the square root of 3 is the square root of 6. We have 2 times 4 is 8. Square root of 3 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 6. Two times 3 is 6. Square root of 3 times the square root of 3 is 3. Now let's multiply everything out. 40 minus, I have 15 times the square root of 6 plus 8 times the square root of 6. So that's going to be 23 times the square root of 6 by combining those like radicals, and then minus 18. 40 minus 18 is 12. I'm sorry. 22, and then minus 23 square root of 6. Now here's a quick review of our special product formulas. When we're squaring a binomial, that means we have two terms, a plus b. We're going to multiply it times itself. A plus b times a plus b. We have a formula which is a squared plus 2ab plus b squared. Similarly, for a minus b squared, it would be a squared minus 2ab plus b squared. Finally, for difference of squares, if I have a plus b times a minus b, notice the first terms are the same, the second terms are the same. The first one is plus, the other one's minus. That will give us a result of a squared minus b squared. So we're going to use these formulas in the next few examples. We're going to square the binomial 2 times the square root of 3 minus the square root of 6. So I want to remind you again that the a minus b squared would follow the formula a squared minus 2 times a times b plus b squared. In this case, 2 times the square root of 3 is my a, square root of 6 is b. So my formula will be 2 square root of 3 squared minus 2 times a times b plus the square root of 6 squared. Remember that when we square with the power, it goes to each factor. So 2 squared is 4. Square root of 3 squared is 3. Minus 2 times 2 is 4. Square root of 3 times the square root of 6 is the square root of 18. And then plus square root of 6 squared is 6. Now, before I go on, I'm going to simplify square root of 18. That's going to be 9 times 2, and then 9 is 3 times 3. So I'll take out the 3, and that's the square root of 2 stays under the radical. 4 times 3 is 12, minus 4. Instead of the square root of 18, I am going to put 3 times the square root of 2, and then plus 6. 12 plus 6 is 18. Minus 4 times 3 is 12 times the square root of 2. So for this example, we have 4 times the square root of 5 plus 3 times the square root of 2. And then we're multiplying that expression by 4 times the square root of 5 minus 3 times the square root of 2. So this follows the format of a plus b times a minus b. So that's going to equal a squared minus b squared. So in this case, 4 square root of 5 is a, 3 times the square root of 2 is b. So I will put 4 times the square root of 5 squared minus 3 times the square root of 2 squared. Now again, we have to square each factor. Four squared, 4 times 4 is 16. And then square root of 5 squared is 5. Minus 3 squared is 9. Times the square root of 2 squared is 2. 16 times 5 is 80. Minus 9 times 2 is 18. So 80 minus 18 is 62.